we're going to talk about the second and unfortunately final game for tomorrow. Pittsburgh and Baltimore has been rescheduled due to COVID for Sunday, so no official Thursday night football game. We're getting the Thursday afternoon game for football, and that is the Washington football team taking on the Dallas Cowboys, another game that I think is going to be sneaky good because these are two teams right now fighting for their division, both at 3-7. I mean, can you believe it? This I don't even know what to make of this.
The division is terrible. I was saying it earlier. I don't even think we're going to see a 7-9 team come out of this division. I legitimately think we're going to have a 6-10 team in the playoffs this season.
So let's talk about it. Let's talk about Washington first here. Let's start with their running game because I heard as soon as I came on, you guys were talking about J.D. McKissick. He had 4 targets last week, 3 receptions, 26 yards. Obviously not the 15 targets and 11 catches that we had seen the week prior, but still, he's getting involved. He had the second most receiving yards on the offense to Terry McLaurin. So what do you guys think of McKissick this week?
I'm starting McKissick as a RB2, a low-end RB2, maybe more of a flex play. I still think he's startable, though, just because he has that receiving floor. Last week was exactly what you thought you would get from J.D. McKissick week in and week out. He had more rushing yards than we would have expected. He had 43 rushing yards. He had 7 yards per carry on 6 carries. Overall, he's going to be a guy who's going to get you 7 to 10 points with a ceiling of a little bit higher than that, and he's not going to go much higher than 20. And he hasn't gone over 20. The highest he's had this year is 17. Overall, that's going to be solidly where he's at, and you'll take that if you need an emergency running back or you need a running back play that can get you a solid amount of points. Shane, we've had this discussion beginning of the season. We had this discussion late end of the season. If you have a superstar running back, like a Dalvin Cook, like a Aaron Jones, like, I guess, a DeAndre Swift at this point, like an Alvin Kamara, and you know you're going to get 20 points from those running backs, if you can find a guy who can get you 10 points and you can get a combined 35-ish points from the running back position, 30 to 35-ish, or even a little bit more than that, then you are set at the running back position. You've got the production that you need to win from that position, and now you just trust your receiving core. J.D. McKissick is not the boom guy to go get if you need a boom out of that second running back position, but if you just need a floor because you have other good running backs and the rest of a really good team to build around him, then he's absolutely fine to put in this week.
Lucas, I want to throw this one to you. Let's talk about Antonio Gibson because he's been on a roll as of late. Last week, 16 carries for 94 yards and a touchdown. Last time they played Dallas, correct me if I'm wrong, I think he had 2 rushing touchdowns. I'd expect the same from him tomorrow.
He only had 1 rushing touchdown the last time.
It was 1? Okay.
Dallas, but he had 20 attempts, 128 yards.
That's what I was thinking. Okay.
For 19 fantasy points, 18.8 to be specific. I love Antonio Gibson this week. I have him as my RB14, so top tier RB2. And, I mean, there's a reason for that. His carry numbers have only gone up the last 3 weeks from 6 to 13 to 16. He's had rushing touchdowns, at least 1 in each of his past 4 games, which means he's getting those red zone attempts. He's getting into the end zone. I love Gibson. I think he's going to have a field day against Dallas.
Yeah, my bad. He had 2 touchdowns last week against the Lions. He's got to keep that streak up, and I think he has the chance to do it. Moving on to their wide receivers.
Well, I got one more thing, Shane. One more thing.
Jack, yeah, go ahead, Jack.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Shane. No, I was just going to say, the last time that Dallas played Washington, Antonio Gibson had 20 touches, and J.D. McKissick had 7 touches. So obviously the carry splits were a lot more in favor of Antonio Gibson at that point. And Washington has used similar game plans whenever they go up against the team a second time. They did it against New York when they played New York the first time, and then the second time it was basically the exact same split between J.D. McKissick and Antonio Gibson between those 2 running backs there. Overall, if they keep up with that same strategy that it worked before, because Antonio Gibson, last time he played up against Dallas, he had 128 yards. Then they probably are going to use it again. So expect a big Antonio Gibson game. Not saying that you fade out J.D. McKissick, because those touches are still receiving touches for J.D. McKissick, even though he had a couple carries in that game. You just probably are valuing Antonio Gibson a little bit higher this week.
Yeah, you're talking about how to value players, and I'm thinking of going out. I don't know if it's too much on a limb here for my Thanksgiving bold take of the day, but in terms of Washington's receiving game, we know Dallas isn't great against the run. They're even worse against the pass. I think Terry McLaurin is going to have 200 receiving yards tomorrow. I think he's going to set a career high by far, and he's going to push those upper limits of the 200s with Alex Smith at quarterback.
That's obviously a hot take, but a take that I very much like. I have Terry McLaurin at 6 this week. Terry McLaurin, I think we're going to have a lot of fantasy productive guys this Thursday because I keep saying guys are going to be studs. Deshaun Watson, then Will Fuller, Brandon Cooks, I think is going to be a stud. DeAndre Swift, I think is going to be a stud. Terry McLaurin falls right in that stud category. He is going to have himself a day if he plays. Praying that he does.
You speak about a lot of breakouts on Thursday. It's because other than maybe Washington against the run, there aren't really any good defenses playing on Thursday, tomorrow. So